Hello, and welcome to Moments in History. I'm Linda Shenton Matchett, author, speaker, and history geek. While researching my stories, I unearth tons of intriguing historical information that doesn't end up in my books. So I've created this channel so I can share these tidbits with you. Before we get started, though, I wanted to say a big thank you to all our new subscribers who have recently joined us. Today, we're going to talk about the first motion picture unit. When the United States entered World War II in December 1941, the Air Corps was part of the Army, and motion picture production was the responsibility of the Army Signal Corps. However, U.S. Army Air Force Commanding General Hap Arnold, who would later be responsible for creating the Women's Air Service Pilot Program, believed that the formation of an independent film entity would help lead the Air Service gain its independence. So at a meeting in March of 1942, General Arnold commissioned Warner Brothers head Jack L. Warner, producer Hal Wallis, and scriptwriter Owen Crump to create the unit. Warner was made lieutenant colonel and Crump a captain. However, in production with Casablanca, Wallis rejected the offer. The immediate concern of the military was a critical shortage of pilots and recruits, so Warner's first responsibility was to produce and release a recruitment film, which would become known as Winning Your Wings. Completed in only 2 weeks, the movie was directed by John Huston and Crump and featured James Stewart as a dashing young pilot. The actor's virile, masculine portrayal changed public perception of military aviators. Arnold would later say the film was pivotal in recruiting over 100,000 pilots. Warner Brothers went on to produce several films, most notably Men of the Sky, The Rear Gunner, and Beyond the Line of Duty, a documentary to promote investment in war bonds that won an Academy Award in 1943 for Best Short Subject. The success of Winning Your Wings created a demand for training and recruitment films, which proved difficult for Warner Brothers to fulfill. So Jack Warner began the process of developing the organizational structure for an independent motion picture unit. The dual mission of the unit would be to produce training and morale films and to train combat cameramen. The ranks were to be filled with film industry professionals, the first time in history such a unit would be raised. On July 1, 1942, the 18th Army Air Force Base Unit, also known as the First Motion Picture Unit, was activated. Key personnel that formed the initial roster included Lieutenant Colonel Warner as commanding officer, Captain Crump, Captain Knox Manning, Second Lieutenant Edwin Gilbert, and Corporal Orrin Haglund. Veteran actors such as Clark Gable, William Holden, Ronald Reagan, Clayton Moore, and DeForest Kelley, and directors such as Frank Capra, John Sturges, Don Weiss, and Robert Aldrich were all part of the unit. At first, the unit operated out of Warner Brothers' office in Burbank, California. Then they moved to Vitagraph Studios in Hollywood. However, neither location proved to be adequate for the scale of production that was required. The unit moved for the third and final time in October of 1942 to the Hal Roach Studios in Culver City, California, and Lieutenant Colonel Paul Mance took over as commanding officer. The men would later nickname the studio Fort Roach. The unit was unique in comparison to other military units in the methods employed to obtain the recruits. Many members were well into middle age and unsuitable for combat duty. Few of the men in the unit were ever even sent into the war zone. Due to its special mission, the unit was able to bypass the normal recruiting channels and was empowered to draft directly. Basic training was said to be not as rigorous as that was experienced by most other servicemen. Military decorum was also quite different at Fort Roach. Saluting was optional, and unit members often called each other by their first names. Hal Roach Studios did not have barracks, so commuting from home was commonplace. Men from out of the area were billeted at nearby Page Military Academy. Animation was essential and integral to the films produced by the unit, providing filmmakers with scenarios not possible with live-action photography due to either technical or secrecy constraints. In an introductory training film, pilots learned how to fly airplanes with the help of colorful cartoon characters, named thrust, gravity, and drag, representative of the forces which act on airframes. Another character, Mr. Chameleon, was created to teach the fine points of military camouflage. Trigger Joe's appearance in position firing was an immediate hit amongst the gunners. Some of the unit's most popular films included Learn and Live, Land and Live in the Desert, Ditch and Live, and Land and Live in the Jungle. Resisting enemy interrogation was lauded by the military, and airmen captured after viewing the film that they were able to successfully resist German efforts to extract information. The feature-length film was of the highest quality and in recognition nominated for an Academy Award in 1944. An intriguing assignment of the unit was to develop navigational and topographical materials to support the bombing campaign against Japan. This top-secret series of films, codenamed Special Film Project 152, was, according to film historian Gregory Orr, perhaps the most important and challenging effort to come from the first motion picture unit. The unit was given 40 days to produce the films which would be used by the B-29 Superfortress crew. Using the films, pilots of the 20th Air Force easily found their targets and were amazed at the level of detail and accuracy the unit was able to produce. General Arnold said, "There has never been anything quite so good as this for briefing men on dangerous missions." As stated earlier, another function of the first motion picture unit was the training of combat cameramen who were based at nearby Page Military Academy. There were approximately 16 combat units, each made up of 7 officers and between 20 and 30 enlisted men. They were trained to use a variety of photographic equipment and cameras, and also received combat and weapons training. The cameramen were sent to every Army Air Force base to document all aspects of the base operations, as well as aerial battle tactics and enemy airplane performance. Every cameraman was trained to load film in their camera under adverse conditions, and if need be, to develop it on location. It is believed that most of the aerial motion picture photography shot during World War II was filmed by Fort Roach alumni. Ultimately, the first motion picture unit produced more than 400 propaganda and military training films, which were notable for being informative as well as entertaining. I hope you've enjoyed today's moment in history. If you want to learn even more history, please stop by my blog found on my website, www.lindashentonmatchett.com, and please consider subscribing to my channel and click the bell icon to receive notifications of new episodes that release on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of each month. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.